Rain poured over the quiet city like 1,000 silver needles, turning streets into mirrors of trembling light. Ethan Cole, a quiet engineer in his late 20s, stood under the small roof of a closed cafe, waiting for the storm to ease. He had just finished another long day at the robotics lab, where machines made more noise than people, and the silence of his empty apartment was waiting for him once again. But that night, destiny had other plans. As thunder rolled through the air, Ethan noticed movement across the street, something small, barely visible through the heavy rain. At first he thought it was just a stray dog, but then a small voice broke through the sound of the storm. "Mommy? Mommy," Ethan froze. The voice was trembling, filled with fear. Through the curtain of rain, he saw a little girl, maybe 6 years old, standing beside a streetlight. Her hair was soaked, her dress clung to her small frame, and she was barefoot. She looked completely lost. Without a second thought, Ethan dashed across the road, his shoes splashing through puddles. "Hey, it's okay," he called gently as he approached, lowering his umbrella over her. "Hey there, are you all right? Where's your mom?" The girl looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes. "I don't know. I can't find her. I was with her at the market, and then people started running because of the rain, and I got lost." Her lips quivered as she spoke. Ethan crouched down to her level, offering a soft smile. Hey, it's okay. You're safe now. My name's Ethan. What's your name?" "Lila," she whispered. "Well, Lila," Ethan said, "we're going to find your mom, all right? But first, let's get you out of the rain." He took her small hand gently in his, and together they walked toward his nearby apartment. The streets were almost empty now, the storm stronger than ever. Lila clung to his arm, and Ethan could feel how cold her fingers were. He held the umbrella over her more than himself. Once they reached his apartment building, Ethan quickly led her inside. The warmth of the hallway felt like sunlight compared to the storm outside. He handed her a towel and let her sit on the couch while he made some warm cocoa. Lila looked around shyly. Ethan's home was simple, neat, clean, but quiet, as if no one ever visited. She noticed small model robots on the shelf and a digital map of Mars pinned to the wall. "Do you live alone?" she asked softly. Ethan nodded as he stirred the cocoa. "Yeah, it's just me. I build machines at a robotics lab. It's not as fun as it sounds," he added with a small laugh. Lila smiled a little. "I like robots." "Then you'll like these," he said, handing her a small mechanical bird that flapped its wings when he pressed a button. Lila's eyes sparkled as the bird whirred softly, hovering above her hand. Ethan sat across from her, handing her the cocoa. "Your mom must be worried sick. Don't worry, tomorrow morning we'll go to the police station, and they'll help us find her." "Thank you," she said, her voice small but sincere. As night fell, Lila fell asleep on the couch, wrapped in a warm blanket. Ethan watched her for a moment, making sure she was safe before sitting near the window. The storm was beginning to calm, but his thoughts were restless. He couldn't understand why helping this lost child stirred something in him. Maybe it was the loneliness he had learned to live with. Maybe it was the reminder that even in a world full of machines and technology, small human kindness still mattered. When he finally went to sleep, it was with a quiet hope that tomorrow would bring good news. The next morning, the sun broke through thin clouds. Lila woke up to the smell of pancakes. Ethan was in the kitchen, humming quietly as he cooked. "Morning, Lila," he said cheerfully. "How do you feel?" She rubbed her eyes and smiled. "Better. Thank you for helping me. Of course. Let's get you to the police now." After breakfast, they went to the local police station. Ethan explained everything to the officer. How he found Lila lost in the rain, and that her mother might be searching for her. The officer nodded and took down the details. "We'll contact nearby stations," the officer said kindly. "You did the right thing, sir. Many people would have walked away." Ethan smiled faintly. "She's just a kid. Anyone would have done the same." But deep down, he wasn't sure that was true. In a world rushing toward cold efficiency, not everyone stopped to care. Before leaving, Ethan gave the officer his number in case they found the mother. Then he took Lila to a nearby park to wait and cheer her up. The rain had left the air fresh and the park sparkled under the morning light. "Do you like flowers?" Ethan asked. Lila nodded eagerly. "My mom loves them too. She says flowers are tiny stars that fell on Earth." Ethan chuckled. "That's a beautiful way to put it." They spent hours talking, feeding birds, and laughing together. For a man who had spent years locked in his routines, this small day with Lila felt like something precious. like life reminding him he wasn't as alone as he thought. Just as they were about to leave, Ethan's phone rang. It was the police. "Mr. Cole," the officer said, "we found her mother. She's been searching everywhere. She's on her way to the station now." Lila's eyes lit up. "Mommy, she's coming?" Ethan smiled. "Yes, she's coming. Let's go meet her." At the police station, a woman burst through the door the moment they arrived. She had long, dark hair, tired eyes, and an expression of pure relief. When she saw Lila, she ran forward and pulled her into her arms. "Lila! Oh, my baby," she cried softly, hugging her tight. "I thought I lost you forever." Lila's own eyes filled with tears. "Mommy, I missed you so much. This man helped me. He took care of me." The woman turned to Ethan, emotion flooding her face. You helped my daughter?" Ethan nodded humbly. "I just did what anyone would have done." She shook her head. "No. Many people saw her crying in the market, but no one stopped." "You did? I don't know how to thank you." Ethan smiled kindly. "You don't have to. I'm just glad she's safe." The woman wiped her tears and introduced herself. "My name's Clara. I don't know how I can repay you, but if you ever need anything at all, please come to me." Ethan simply nodded. "Just take care of her. That's all that matters." As mother and daughter embraced again, Ethan quietly stepped back. Watching them together made his heart feel both warm and empty. He realized how much he missed having anyone, to come home to. He turned to leave, but Lila called out to him. "Wait. Ethan!" She ran up and hugged his leg. "Will I see you again?" Ethan knelt and smiled. "Of course, Lila, the world's not that big. Maybe one day we'll meet again." And with that, he waved goodbye and walked away under the soft afternoon sun. For the next few days, Ethan returned to his quiet life. The lab, the machines, the silence, everything was the same, yet something in him had changed. He often found himself glancing at the small mechanical bird Lila had played with, still sitting on his desk. It was a reminder that kindness still connected people, even for a brief moment. He didn't expect to see her again. But 3 days later, as he returned home from work, he noticed 2 figures standing by his door, one small and one taller. It was Lila, and her mother. Ethan stopped in surprise. "Clara? Lila? What are you 2 doing here?" Clara stepped forward, her eyes soft but nervous. "Mr. Cole," she began, "we came to thank you again, but also because there's something I need to ask you." Ethan frowned slightly, confused. "What is it?" Clara took a deep breath. "Please, don't be shocked, but I want you to be part of our lives. Lila can't stop talking about you. And she paused, her voice trembling. "I can't stop thinking about the man who helped my daughter when no one else did." Ethan's heart skipped a beat as the cool evening air fell silent around them. And so, what began as a simple act of kindness was about to change his life forever. Ethan stood frozen at the doorway, rain drizzling softly behind Clara and Lila. The sound of the wind mixed with the quiet pounding of his heart. He hadn't expected to see them again, not so soon, and not like this. Clara looked nervous but determined, while Lila clutched her mother's hand tightly, smiling up at Ethan with bright eyes. "Can we come in for a moment?" Clara asked politely. "There's something important I want to say." Ethan hesitated for a second, still surprised, but then nodded. "Of course. Please come in." He stepped aside and the 2 entered his small but tidy apartment. The scent of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the air. Ethan had just come home from work. Clara looked around quietly, taking in the shelves of small robotic creations and the neatly arranged tools on his workbench. Lila ran straight to the mechanical bird she had played with before. "It's still here," she said happily, holding it up. Ethan smiled. "Of course. I kept it safe." Clara's lips curved into a gentle smile as she watched her daughter. Then her expression softened with gratitude. "Ethan, I meant to come sooner, but things were so chaotic after we got home. I owe you more than words can express." Ethan waved his hand modestly. "You don't owe me anything. I was just in the right place at the right time." Clara shook her head. "No, you were the only one who stopped. Everyone else walked past her that day. You took care of my little girl like she was your own." There was a silence that felt heavy but kind, filled with unspoken emotion. Ethan didn't know what to say. He simply nodded and offered them tea. They sat together, and for a while Lila told stories about her school and her favorite cartoon shows while Ethan listened with patient warmth. Clara watched him, how gentle he was with her daughter, how calm his voice was, how genuinely he smiled. When Lila went to play quietly with a small robot near the corner, Clara finally spoke again. "Ethan," she began softly, "I know this might sound sudden, maybe even strange, but I've thought about it for days. You've shown more kindness to me and my daughter than anyone has in a long time." Ethan looked at her, unsure where this was going. Clara took a deep breath. "I've been raising Lila alone since her father passed away 2 years ago. It's been hard, harder than I ever imagined. I tried to be strong for her, but sometimes it feels like the world is too heavy for one person." Her voice trembled slightly, and she looked down at her hands. "When I saw how you cared for her, how gentle and patient you were, it reminded me of something I thought I'd lost, hope. My daughter has been smiling more these past few days than I've seen in months. And I realized that maybe fate brought you to us for a reason." Ethan felt a mix of surprise and empathy. He had known pain too. The emptiness of loneliness, the quiet rooms, the silent meals. He understood what she meant. Still, her next words caught him completely off guard. "Ethan," she said carefully, "I know it's unexpected, but I want you to be part of our lives. I want you to consider becoming my husband." The words hung in the air like soft thunder, quiet but powerful. Ethan blinked, not sure he heard her right. "Clara, are you serious?" She nodded slowly, her eyes sincere. "I don't mean to rush or force anything, I feel like you already belong in our world. You made my daughter feel safe. You made me believe there are still good men out there." Ethan stood up and paced for a moment. His mind was spinning. Marriage?
He had barely known her for a week.
He admired her strength and he adored Lila's innocence, but this, it was sudden. He turned back to her. "Clara, you're a wonderful person and Lila is amazing, but marriage is a big step. I don't want to make any promises unless I'm sure I can keep them." Clara smiled gently, though her eyes were moist. "I understand. I didn't expect you to answer right away. I just needed to be honest. You saved my child, and then somehow you saved something inside me too." Ethan sighed softly, touched by her words. "Let's take it slow, all right? I'd love to spend more time with both of you. Maybe we can start as friends. Let's see where life takes us." Clara nodded gratefully. "That's all I ask." Over the next few weeks, Ethan became a regular part of their lives. Every evening after work, he visited Clara and Lila's small home in the old district. The neighborhood was lively, filled with laughter and the smell of freshly baked bread from the corner bakery. It was a refreshing change from Ethan's silent apartment. He helped Lila with her homework, fixed small things around the house, and often joined them for dinner. Lila adored him. She called him Mr. Ethan, though sometimes she slipped and just said Ethan with a giggle. Clara watched quietly as her daughter grew happier day by day. For the first time in a long while, their home felt full again, full of laughter, of warmth, of life. One evening, while Ethan was helping Lila build a small model rocket for her school project, Clara stood by the kitchen door smiling softly. The gentle light from the lamp fell on Ethan's face as he explained how the engine worked, his tone patient and kind. Lila listened, wide-eyed. "Will it really fly?" Ethan chuckled. "If we build it right and follow all the steps, yes. Science is about patience and a little bit of faith." Clara's heart swelled. Watching them together felt natural, like something the universe had quietly planned. After dinner, when Lila went to bed, Clara and Ethan sat on the porch with 2 cups of tea. The city lights shimmered in the distance and the air carried the smell of rain again, light and refreshing. "Ethan," Clara said softly, "do you ever miss having a family?" Ethan took a moment to answer. "I used to think I didn't need one. I kept myself busy with work, with machines. They don't complain. They don't disappoint. But now I see how wrong I was. Machines can't laugh. They can't tell stories. They can't care." Clara smiled faintly. "You've brought so much joy to our home. Lila talks about you all the time. She says you're her hero." Ethan looked down, a bit shy. "She's the brave one. Getting lost like that and still smiling through everything. She's stronger than most adults." They shared a quiet laugh. Then Clara's voice grew softer. "You know," she said, "I wasn't sure if I should say this again, but my offer still stands. I'm not asking out of desperation. I'm asking because I believe we could build something real together. Ethan looked at her, his heart full of mixed emotions. Clara, I don't want to hurt you by making promises I can't keep. She shook her head. You won't, I've seen who you are. I trust my heart. Ethan looked into her eyes, calm, kind, and full of hope. He saw no greed, no rush, only sincerity. All right, he said finally, smiling faintly. Let's give life a chance to decide for us. Let's not rush it, Kwai, but let's not run from it either. Clara's eyes glistened. That's all I wanted to hear. In the weeks that followed, their bond deepened naturally. Ethan became a part of their small routines, helping with breakfast, fixing old gadgets, reading stories to Lila before bed. The neighborhood even began to notice. Clara's got someone new helping around, the old shopkeeper whispered one day with a knowing smile. Good man, that one. You can tell. Clara didn't mind the whispers. For the first time since her husband's passing, she felt at peace. Ethan's presence was calm and steady, like the quiet after a storm. But as everything began to fall into place, an unexpected letter arrived at Ethan's doorstep one morning. It was marked with the insignia of the Global Robotics Agency, the very company he had always dreamed of working for. The letter offered him a high-ranking position on a distant research colony orbiting Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. It was the opportunity of a lifetime. Ethan stared at the letter for a long time, his heart torn. He had worked for years to reach this point, yet now the thought of leaving Clara and Lila behind filled him with sadness. That evening, he went to see them. He found Lila painting stars on a canvas and Clara preparing dinner. Clara noticed the letter in his hand. What's that? Ethan hesitated. A job offer. A big one. They want me to move to a research colony in space for at least 3 years. The smile faded from Clara's face, though she tried to stay calm. That's amazing. You always wanted that, didn't you? Ethan nodded slowly. I did, but now, I don't know anymore. Lila looked up from her painting, sensing the tension. Are you going away, Ethan? He knelt beside her and smiled softly. Maybe, but I haven't decided yet. Clara looked at him with quiet emotion. Ethan, you've given us hope and happiness. Don't give up your dreams because of us. Ethan shook his head. It's not that simple anymore. That night, as he walked home under the starlit sky, he looked up, thinking of Europa, of machines and stars, and of one small home filled with laughter. For the first time, his heart didn't know which world it belonged to. Ethan couldn't sleep that night. The offer letter from the Global Robotics Agency lay open on his table, its clean white paper reflecting the faint city lights that entered through the window. It was everything he had worked for, a position on the Europa research colony, a dream that once defined his entire life. But now, as he stared at the letter, all he could think of were two faces, Clara's gentle smile and Lila's innocent laughter. He sighed and rubbed his forehead. Why now? He whispered to himself. Why when everything finally feels right? The next morning, Ethan went to the robotics lab as usual. His coworkers congratulated him after hearing about the offer. You did it, Ethan, one of them said. A position in orbit, you're going to make history. He smiled politely, but the joy didn't reach his eyes. As he worked on calibrating a small exploration drone, his mind kept drifting back to Clara's home, the warmth of their dinners, Lila's cheerful questions, and Clara's eyes when she had told him, You already belong in our world. By noon, Ethan's supervisor called him into the office. Cole, he said, adjusting his glasses. The agency's waiting for your response. You have 3 days. They don't keep offers open forever. Ethan nodded. I understand. He walked out feeling like the weight of 2 worlds sat on his shoulders. That evening he visited Clara and Lila as usual, but something felt different. He could see the question in Clara's eyes, the one she was too kind to ask. Lila ran to him as soon as he entered. Ethan, come see what I made. She proudly showed him a small cardboard rocket covered in silver foil and paper stars. It's our spaceship. I made it for you, and so you can go to space. Ethan knelt and smiled. That's beautiful, Lila. You made it just right. Clara stood nearby, her hands clasped. She's been talking about space all day, she said softly. She wants to see you reach your dream. Ethan looked at the little rocket, then at the child who made it. Something tightened in his chest. Lila, if I go to space, who will help you with your science projects? She tilted her head, thinking. Mom says if someone really cares, they always find their way back, even from the stars. Her words hit him deeper than she could ever know. Later that night, after Lila went to bed, Ethan and Clara sat on the porch again. The air was cool, and the moonlight painted everything silver. I heard you have only 3 days to decide, Clara said quietly. Ethan nodded. Yes, 3 days to choose between everything I've ever worked for and everything I've just found. She turned to him, her eyes calm but sad. You don't owe me anything, Ethan. You've done more than enough for us. You should follow your dreams, he smiled faintly. You sound like you want me to go. Clara shook her head. No, I don't want you to go. But I don't want to be the reason you don't. Ethan looked out into the night sky. The stars seemed endless, like the future calling to him. But they also felt cold, distant. When I was a boy, he said slowly, I used to stare at the stars for hours. I dreamed of going there, of building something that would outlast me. But lately when I look at the sky, I don't think about machines anymore. I think about people, about warmth, about what it means to live, not just work. Clara smiled gently. Then maybe you've already found what you were really searching for. They sat in silence for a while, listening to the quiet hum of the city. The next day, Ethan decided to visit the agency headquarters to at least see the project. The building was a tall structure made of glass and steel, filled with people wearing clean white coats and holographic screens flashing data. A representative greeted him. Mr. Cole, welcome. Your work on robotic navigation has impressed us. On Europa, you'll be leading the new exploration unit. This is a lifetime opportunity. Not many get to shape the future like this. He showed Ethan detailed plans, a vast research dome under Jupiter's shimmering light, laboratories, living quarters, and the promise of adventure. But as Ethan looked at the images, something felt missing. The designs were perfect, the technology brilliant, yet the atmosphere felt empty. Looks incredible, Ethan said finally, though his tone was quiet. As he left the building, the representative's voice echoed in his head. Shape the future. But Ethan realized something. Maybe the future wasn't about distant planets or perfect machines. Maybe it was about building something human, something close to home. That evening, he walked slowly to Clara's house. The street lamps flickered as the wind carried the faint scent of flowers from the park nearby. Clara opened the door before he could knock. Ethan, she said softly, I didn't think you'd come tonight. You must be busy preparing. He shook his head. I wanted to see you both. Lila ran out of her room holding a drawing. Look, I drew all of us on the moon. Ethan laughed gently as he looked at the picture. 3 stick figures stood under a large yellow moon holding hands. It's perfect, he said. You're a real artist, Lila. She grinned proudly. When you go to space, you'll take this with you, right? Ethan hesitated, then nodded slowly. Yes, I'll take it. Clara watched him carefully, noticing the conflict in his eyes. You still haven't decided, have you? He looked down. No, every time I think about going, something in me resists. I don't know if it's fear or something else. Clara reached out and touched his arm gently. Maybe it's love, she said softly. Ethan's heart skipped. Her voice wasn't bold. It was tender, uncertain but full of truth. He met her gaze, and for a long moment neither spoke. The silence between them said more than words ever could. The next morning, Ethan sat in his apartment, staring once again at the offer letter. The deadline was that evening. He read the words over and over, but his mind was somewhere else. In a small home filled with laughter, in the sound of Lila's voice calling his name, in the warmth of Clara's quiet strength. Finally, he took a deep breath and folded the letter. He knew what he had to do. He walked outside, the city alive with morning light, and went straight to the agency office. The representative smiled as Ethan entered. Mr. Cole, I hope you're ready to confirm. We're excited to have you on the team. Ethan shook his head slowly. I'm honored by the offer, sir. But I can't accept it. The man blinked in surprise. You can't? This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Ethan smiled calmly. It is. But it's not my lifetime anymore. My future isn't on another world. It's here and with people who matter. The representative paused, studying him, then nodded with quiet respect. Not many would turn down something like this. You must have something worth staying for. I do. Ethan said simply, and left. That evening, Clara and Lila were having dinner when the doorbell rang. Lila jumped up to open it. "Ethan!" she shouted happily, hugging his legs. "Did you decide? Are you going to space?" Ethan smiled and knelt beside her. "No, Lila, I decided to stay right here." Clara stood, her eyes wide. "You had turned it down?" He nodded. "Yes, I realized something important. My dream wasn't about reaching the stars. It was about finding light. And I already found it." Tears filled Clara's eyes as she smiled. "Ethan, are you sure?" He nodded again. "More sure than I've ever been." Lila clapped her hands. "Yeah, you're not leaving." Ethan laughed and picked her up, spinning her around. The room filled with laughter, warm, real, and human. When he set her down, Clara stepped closer. "You gave up your dream for us?" He looked at her gently. "No, Clara. I found a new one that's not lonely." Their eyes met again, and for the first time, Clara didn't look away. The silence between them was no longer heavy. It was peaceful. Lila, watching them, giggled. "Mom says when two people smile like that, it means they're happy." Ethan laughed softly. "Your mom is very wise." Clara's voice trembled slightly. "And you're very kind, Ethan. I don't know what we did to deserve you." He shook his head. "Maybe it's not about deserving. Maybe it's just meant to be." That night, as the stars shone above the quiet city, Ethan stood by the window of Clara's home. Lila was asleep in her room, holding the small cardboard rocket she had made. Clara joined him quietly. "Do you ever think about what's out there?" she asked, looking at the sky. He nodded. "Yes, but now when I look up, I don't see things I've lost. I see everything I have right here." Clara smiled softly. "You chose us." Ethan turned to her. "I didn't just choose you, Clara. I chose to live." And as the wind whispered through the night, they stood side by side, two souls who had found each other not through chance, but through kindness, the kind that could light even the darkest stars. The city was quiet that evening, the streets bathed in the soft glow of streetlights and the gentle hum of distant traffic. Ethan sat on the small porch of Clara and Lila's home, sipping tea and enjoying the rare moment of calm. He had made his choice and he would stay. The stars could wait. He had found something far more important here on Earth. Lila's laughter echoed from inside the house. She had been playing with her small robot army, giving each one a heroic name. Ethan smiled as he remembered the day he first met her in the rain, lost and frightened. Now she was thriving, filled with curiosity and joy. Clara came out to join him, carrying a small tray with cookies. "You're too quiet tonight," she said softly, placing the tray beside him. Ethan shook his head with a smile. "Just thinking about how lucky I am." Clara sat beside him, looking at the horizon. "You've changed our lives, Ethan, and I hope, in some way, we've changed yours too." He nodded. "You have. More than you know. You've reminded me what it means to care about someone, not just through duty, but through love." Lila appeared at the doorway, yawning and rubbing her eyes. "Can I join you?" she asked softly. "Of course," Ethan said, patting the space beside him. She climbed onto the porch, curling up between them. The three of them sat together, the quiet night surrounding them like a warm blanket. Days turned into weeks, and the small home became even livelier. Ethan helped with Lila's school projects, fixed things around the house, and even started teaching her small lessons about machines and science. She was a quick learner, full of questions that made Ethan laugh and think at the same time. Clara found herself drawn closer to Ethan every day. His quiet strength, his patience, and the simple kindness in his actions made her feel safe. And Lila. She had claimed him as a part of her world without hesitation. The bond between them was undeniable. One evening, as the sun set in brilliant streaks of orange and pink, Clara stood at the kitchen window watching Ethan and Lila in the yard. Lila was pretending the garden gnomes were astronauts exploring a distant planet, and Ethan was playing along, giving each one a voice. Clara's heart swelled. She realized in that moment that her little family was complete, not because of anything grand, but because of the love they shared. A few days later, Ethan took Lila and Clara to the park. Lila ran ahead, giggling as she chased the pigeons. Ethan followed at a slower pace, holding Clara's hand. The city felt alive around them, the ordinary streets now filled with extraordinary memories. They found a quiet spot by the fountain, and Ethan sat down with Clara. "I wanted to talk to you," he began, a little nervous, "about us." Clara looked at him, her expression calm but expectant. "I've been thinking," Ethan continued, "about Lila, about you, about everything that's happened. I realized that my life before, it was missing something. I was alone and I thought that was enough. But it isn't. Not anymore." Clara squeezed his hand gently, encouraging him to continue. "I don't want to leave you, not for any job, not for any dream. I want to be here, with both of you every day through everything." He paused, searching her eyes. "Clara, I want to be part of your family, if you'll have me." Clara's eyes glistened with tears. She smiled softly. "Ethan, I've wanted to hear those words for days. Yes, we'll have you. You're already part of us." Before he could respond, Lila ran over, waving a small handmade star wand. "You said something about stars," she exclaimed. "You can't leave. You promised." Ethan laughed and picked her up. "I promised, didn't I? And I always keep my promises." They embraced in the fading light, the warmth of the moment filling the quiet park. The city around them seemed to fade away, leaving only the three of them connected by trust, kindness, and love. Back home that night, Ethan and Clara sat by the window, watching the stars appear one by one in the clear night sky. Lila had fallen asleep, clutching the small cardboard rocket she had made. "Do you ever think about what could have been?" Clara asked softly. Ethan shook his head. "Not really. I used to dream about the stars, about adventure and achievement. But now I dream about this. Home, laughter, love. I wouldn't trade it for anything." Clara rested her head on his shoulder. "I feel the same. Life brought you to us for a reason, and I promise I'll never take that for granted." Ethan kissed the top of her head gently. "Nor will I. This is my life now, and it's better than any dream I ever had." The weeks passed peacefully. Ethan officially moved in with Clara and Lila, helping to make the house feel even more like a home. They celebrated birthdays, small victories, and ordinary days with the kind of joy that comes from being together. Lila thrived under their combined care, growing more confident and curious with every passing day. Ethan and Clara's bond deepened, built on trust, shared experiences, and the quiet understanding that sometimes love doesn't announce itself loudly. It simply grows in the spaces between kindness and laughter. One Saturday, they decided to have a small picnic in the park. Lila ran ahead, excitedly pointing out clouds shaped like animals. Ethan and Clara followed slowly, holding hands, watching her with gentle smiles. "You know," Clara said softly, "I never thought I could be this happy again." Ethan turned to her, his eyes warm. "Neither did I, and yet, here we are." They spread a blanket under a large oak tree. Lila sat in the middle, eating sandwiches and telling stories about imaginary space adventures. Ethan and Clara listened, laughing at her dramatic voices and imaginative ideas. After lunch, Ethan pulled out a small telescope he had recently bought. "Want to see the stars up close?" he asked. Lila clapped excitedly. "Yes, let's find Jupiter." Ethan set up the telescope and adjusted it carefully. Clara peered through it first, seeing the familiar planet glinting in the sky. Then Lila tried, her small hands steady with excitement. Finally, Ethan looked through the lens. Jupiter was magnificent, glowing softly against the dark velvet of the night. "You know," Ethan said, lowering the telescope, "I used to dream of being up there, exploring unknown worlds. But now I see the best worlds are the ones we build here together." Clara smiled. "And we have plenty of worlds to build, right here with laughter, love, and family." Lila hugged them both tightly. "I love our world," she shouted. Ethan laughed and hugged her back. "So do I, Lila, so do I." That night, as the family settled in for bed, Ethan reflected on the past few weeks. From the stormy night when he found a little lost girl to the quiet moments of love and connection he now shared with her and her mother. He realized that sometimes life's greatest adventures aren't in distant galaxies or incredible achievements. They're in the small, meaningful choices we make, choosing kindness, choosing love, choosing to be present for those who matter most. Clara came to sit beside him, holding his hand. "Ethan," she whispered, "thank you for staying. Thank you for choosing us." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "No, thank you. You reminded me what really matters. I thought I was alone, but now I see I've never been alone, and I never will be as long as we're together. They sat quietly looking out the window at the stars above. The night was calm, and the world felt infinite. But this time, infinite didn't feel lonely. It felt full of love, laughter, and promise, as Lila slept soundly, dreaming of rockets and faraway planets. Ethan and Clara made a silent promise to each other, to face life together, to nurture their small family, and to build a life filled with joy, patience, and care. And somewhere beneath the stars, the little cardboard rocket sat by Lila's bed, a reminder that dreams may change, but the heart's true home is always where love lives.